Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Mindful Meditation for Beginners. My name is Katie, and thank you for joining me this morning for this course. This is a short 30-minute course for beginners, of course, um, just focusing on kind of an intro to mindfulness meditation. Absolutely no experience is required, just an interest and a curiosity. So we are going to take it very basic today. Even the whole 30 minutes is not going to be meditation because um, mostly people who are interested in meditation but are beginners haven't really developed any sort of routine, but are maybe interested in starting a routine. So I apologize that my camera situation is pretty low quality. So that's why we have this nice PowerPoint to look at instead. So I wanted to go over a couple of basics for someone who maybe doesn't have a whole lot of background with mindfulness and meditation, of course, a beginner, but looking to learn. So this course will really focus on a secular version of mindfulness, although the roots are definitely in the Buddhist tradition and religion. This will be a totally secular version of that that'll focus a lot on science-based information about what we know about how the brain and mind work, and how mindfulness has been scientifically proven to really improve our lives in so many ways. So, I definitely applaud you for being here in the first place if this is something you're looking to start and build on. So, a couple of basics. Like I said, we're not going to do a full 30-minute meditation. I think that's a little too overwhelming for people who might just be starting out. And maybe you do already have a practice down, and that's fantastic. If not, again, come here with no prerequisites needed. Nothing is really needed of you except you, your physical body, and your mind here. So that's kind of the beauty of mindfulness meditation as well, is that there's really nothing that's required, just you, just an open mind. So yeah, kind of at the top of a class, we would usually run down the things that are on the supply list, and that's really it. It's just you, just your mind. Of course, there are traditional meditation supplies, so to speak, that you might find helpful. A meditation cushion, of course, is something that you can, if you enjoy practicing more in a seated position on the floor. Definitely a meditation cushion is helpful because it'll prop your hips above your knees, which just makes it a little bit more comfortable, even if you're not experiencing any sort of achiness. But it'll keep it from coming as well. Um, Blanket is something that's always nice as well, but again, not required. It's kind of more just to ward off any chills that might happen while you're in a sit, as we call it, for meditation during a meditation. Um, but really, it can be done in a computer chair, which is what I'm in. Um, and that's kind of how in this class we're going to practice, is in a chair, just to make it easy on you, just to make sure you have all the support that you need. It's where I am as the instructor, so and it's just kind of the most applicable to life as well. There's something pretty awesome about a practice like mindfulness that you can do pretty much anywhere. You're sitting at your desk, maybe at work, or you're sitting, even in your car with, of course, your eyes open. You can do mindfulness practices while driving. You can do it sitting, waiting in a waiting room for anything, standing in line. You do it lying down. There's really um, no limitations when it comes to starting a practice. So I think the most important thing to break down at the top here is the difference between the word mindfulness and the word meditation. Of course, they go together so often. And that's, in this course too, the mindful meditation. But mindfulness itself is kind of maybe the scientific word um, that does have roots in that Buddhism tradition. But it's really just kind of the practice of being open and aware at all times. Um, without any sort of judgment on what is coming in and out of your thoughts or your experience, your emotions, um, and being able to kind of focus it on one thing at a time with purpose. So, of course, meditation is kind of more the act of um, the verb, so to speak, of doing something. So the meditation is actually the formal sitting, with eyes closed or open and going through a practice like breathing practice or a visualization or something like that. So mindfulness, the words mindfulness and meditation aren't exactly synonyms. Obviously, they go together very nicely, but you can be mindful while you're not in a meditation. So that's kind of where the difference happens there. You can mindfully walk your dog, you can mindfully wash the dishes, and it can be a form of meditation, but you're really just being mindful. And ideally, we would all want to be mindful all the time, which is kind of why we have a meditation practice to help us get there. So I'll go over kind of some basics for starting a meditation, which we'll do about 15 minutes of today, just to kind of get a taste. And, to me, as long as you're starting a meditation practice, 15 minutes is not any sort of benchmark that you need to write down or try to commit to. Honestly, when building practice, I caution people from sitting down for too long. Really kind of meditating for as long as you feel you can keep your attention, and then noticing when your body or your mind is getting restless, and maybe that's just the time you need to get up and do something else. And you can always come back to it. You can always start again. That's kind of a basis of mindfulness, is that we're constantly getting lost and starting again. Um, so, like I said, we'll do about a 15-minute meditation today, which may seem long if you haven't meditated before and are just starting out. So, I really, again, applaud you for being here, and, take maybe some tools from today's meditation and do a 5-minute version or a 10-minute version or a 3-minute or 1-minute version, whatever you can fit into your life. It's one of the biggest takeaways that I like to impress upon students, is that make sure that the practice is conforming to you. You are not conforming to a practice. So it is all for you. It's all for your life. So make it work for you. Don't make yourself work for it. So when we're first kind of sitting down to a practice here, and I'll use that phrase a lot because we're going to be sitting a lot. Again, you could do this lying down, which is nice. If you're feeling any sort of lethargy, sleepiness, tiredness, um, I would caution against lying down, since there is a greater chance you can fall asleep, but you could also fall asleep in a chair. So do what's best for you. You can, again, do this standing. That might be a good option if you are really feeling sleepy and you kind of, want to be able to focus a little bit more. You can do this standing. We're going to be in a chair. If you are not in a chair and want to get in a chair, you can. If you're already sitting on the floor, standing, whatever, you can just kind of adapt this to your position currently. So the first thing I like to do and really stress upon is that your position, your posture, everything needs to be comfortable. You, again, don't want to be straining to try to conform to, maybe some image of mindfulness and meditation you've seen, in pop culture or something. You really should be comfortable, because the more comfortable your physical body is, the more open you can be to experiences. You're not being mentally dragged into a pinched back or a pain in your knee or something like that. So really making sure at the top here that you're as comfortable as possible. That'll help eliminate any sort of physical discomfort as you go through the practice. So in a sitting posture, you want to make sure that your hips are directly below your spine. So even making sure that I would push my hips all the way back to the back of the chair. Um, that way I know that my spine is being perfectly balanced on my sits bones. And I like to ask people to have their feet flat on the floor instead of cross-legged or crossing at the ankles or something like that. Again, it's just a nicer sensation, and you have perfect balance under your knees because your feet are directly under your knees. And I like to use, I'll show you here, something behind my back. I just have a rolled up blanket here. You can use a small pillow, whatever you have, rolled up towel, just behind my back. Doesn't It's not a requirement. It's just something that allows my back to feel more supported when I am kind of perfectly balanced here. And just kind of allowing the arms to be comfortable. If you have armrests on your chair, you can choose to set them there. If there's any sort of tension that requires you to keep them up, you can rest the hands on the thighs. You can even kind of let them dangle if you have a harmless chair or something like that, or that's just the most comfortable way. Um, you know, I've definitely done that before. So kind of allowing the arms to rest, and you can kind of make sure, even doing some light shoulder rolls, that the arms, the shoulders especially, are relaxed, and you're not having to hold the arms in a certain way. So as you get situated here, and you can kind of just mentally check in with your body. Am I relaxed up at the shoulders? Is my head kind of perfectly set on my spine? And my spine on my hips, and my knees are directly above my feet. This sounds very procedural, but once you feel comfortable, you'll know the posture, trying again. So once we're kind of in this posture, it's kind of time to start. So the first choice here is to choose whether this is an eyes open type of day or an eyes closed type of day. Can vary from day to day, or you'll just find one that you like better than the other, and there's no right or wrong answer. So it's basically choosing eyes closed, or if you're keeping the eyes open, I would suggest lowering your gaze. So don't look at the screen, don't look at anything that has words on it. Maybe just staring a couple feet in front of where your feet are on the floor, or if there's a desk in front of you, just making sure there's no words or pictures or something that might kind of distract your visual field there. So just kind of choosing at this point which one's right for you, which one's right for today. Making that choice, and just, as long as it's comfortable, committing to that for this full 15 minutes here. So I'm going to take you through kind of how I like to do my meditations, teaching, and in my own life. And I encourage you to take bits and pieces that work for you and land for you into your own practice. And feel free to discard, edit out things that do not work for you. So, upon first starting a meditation, I really like to do a mental and physical check in here. We kind of already did the physical check, but I like to kind of do what we call in meditation a body scan. So this can be starting from the crown of the head, moving towards the toes, or it can be in reverse. I do kind of a pick and choose version. So I like to go just to the areas that I usually hold tension, which for me is the eyes, the jaw, the neck and shoulders, and the belly. So that's kind of what I do now, is just kind of stop for a few breaths at each point. And again, feel free to choose your own points if you know where you traditionally hold tension. And what I mean by that is just, I know that I can tend to scrunch up my brows sometimes when I'm focusing too hard in meditation, or I tend to find that my jaw is tight, even just during a regular day. That's just where I hold my stress. I hold my stress in my neck and shoulders. A lot of people do. Or I can recognize some stress in my belly as kind of a knot, or even, my core in general, using the back as well. Just seeing if there's tension there that can be released. Maybe it can't be released, and that's okay. So we're just kind of checking in without any sort of judgment on what's there. So you can follow along with me. You can start at different points, whatever works for you. If you're just starting out, I encourage you to follow my guidance, just so you have um, something to guide you, and then, you know, filtering out what doesn't work after you've tried something. So I'm just going to bring the attention to the eyes. Lots of tiny little muscles around our eyes, include the brow bone as well. And just kind of being aware, do I have any sort of tension going on with the eyes? Am I scrunching my brow at all? If so, am I able to kind of relax that as I become aware of it? Just kind of noticing what's here. Again, if there's any sort of tension, maybe you've got, stress is causing you to have a little eye twitch or something like that. I get those. And it's nothing you can do anything about, then just noticing it, kind of mentally noting it to yourself and accepting that it is. And then we'll move down to the jaw. Just again, seeing if we're kind of loose hinged here in the jaw, or if there's any sort of tension. Might show up as kind of teeth pain, pain in the gums or something like that. And just, don't be afraid to use some gentle movement here if you want to just kind of hinge the jaw a little bit and close the mouth. Just kind of helps us become aware of what's here. We take these stops kind of at the pace of our breath, our natural breath. So I'll say on the next exhale, we'll move down to the neck and shoulders, bringing that area into our awareness here. Noticing if there's any pain, tension, if you feel relaxed. It's also worth noting. Whatever comes up here in this area for you. Like I said, don't shy away from any sort of body movement that might help relax something. Some shoulder rolls might help, or just lifting the shoulders towards the ears and dropping them back down. Cue some relaxation in there. And then on the next exhale, we'll move kind of to our core. This can be back, belly, both. Just kind of, again, checking in without any sort of expectation or judgment. What's here this morning? Do I feel hunger? Do I feel any pain, any tension, any sort of nervous knots or anxiety? Do I feel, a lack of sensation? That's fine too. And take a few breaths here to just kind of check in with any other places you feel you might want to bring into your awareness, just to see if there's any tension, how it's feeling. Any places can be more relaxed with a couple deep breaths. Take a few moments here for that. You can also kind of feel the body as a whole just sitting here. And then the next step I like to do is kind of a mental check-in as well, a mental emotional check-in. Just kind of without any preconceived notions of what's going on, maybe just asking ourselves and really being honest with ourselves of how am I this morning? Where am I at mentally, emotionally? If I have a rough night of sleep, if I have one predominant emotion that's kind of overwhelming me this morning. Am I stuck in kind of a negative emotion, a negative mood, or is it a positive mood, or somewhere kind of around contentment, a neutral mood? Kind of taking an external view of your own mental state here. So once those check-ins are complete, please take your time. Since we've talked through them in more detail this morning, it'll take up a little less time when you're doing it on automatic. But I wanted to take the time to like guide you through how I do things. And again, feel free to make it your own. That'll work for you. So going into just a basic breathing exercise today. Very, very basic. The focus is going to be the breath. And I know for some people, the breath is not um, a relaxing focus option. So I will give some alternatives as well once I kind of go through instruction for the breath. So as we're in our comfortable sitting posture here, we've done a physical check-in, we've done a kind of a mental emotional check-in. Done our best to just kind of allow everything to settle. And I want to point out here that doesn't mean clearing your mind. It doesn't mean trying to get rid of anything that you're thinking about or feeling. It just means kind of coming to a center point, allowing that all to be there without pushing it away. Like there's a big misconception of trying to clear your mind or having to clear your mind, and that's pretty much impossible. So I want to clear that up too at the top here. So as we go into this breathing practice, it's really nice to just take a few deep belly breaths at the beginning here. I recommend 3 and really doing them at your own pace, but just doing kind of what feels good to you. So really taking a deep breath in through the nose if that's possible, really breathing into the diaphragm. Nice and slow, and exhaling nice and slow as well. Again, going at your own pace here, just really allowing the breath to work for you. A few deep breaths can just kind of allow things to settle. Deep breathing triggers our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest part of the nervous system. So that's why when you're in a high tense situation, deep breathing really can be helpful here. So then once you've done a few deep breaths, allowing the breath to come back to its natural pace and rhythm. And doing some curiosity discovering here, seeing where you feel the breath most clearly. If you need to go back to those deep breaths to kind of identify it, please do. Most people feel it either in the belly where this diaphragm kind of expands and contracts, at the chest maybe, or the lungs. It kind of rises and falls. Or it can be, where the air is coming in and out of the nose or the mouth. Just kind of seeing here where you feel it most strongly and choosing to rest your attention there. So this is going to be our anchor point, I'm going to call it. And I'm going to be silent here for about a minute. And I just want you to focus your attention on your anchor point. When you find that you've been pulled away by thoughts or physical pain or emotion, just mentally note that and without any sort of judgment, just coming back to your anchor. You'll do this a million times over. So do not judge yourself for how often or how long you get pulled away. Just doing our best to wake up for the moment and come back to our breath. If the breath is not an option for you, using a physical sensation like the hands or the feet, a neutral spot where we don't typically hold tension, that might be another alternative to you. Or external sounds. If the body is just not an option, you can use external sounds. And so we have just about 30 seconds left here. Kind of doing another physical mental check-in here quickly, just to see if anything has changed, improved, feels different. Do you feel calm? Do you still feel agitated? Has anything changed? Take a few deep breaths to kind of return to the present moment, return to the space that you're in, and lift the gaze or open the eyes. And that was your brief meditation, brief breathing exercise meditation. And feel free if you want to ask any questions in the Q&A chat box. We've only got about a minute left, but I hope that was helpful to you. I hope um, that this is a tool that you can use to start your own meditation practice, to build a little bit more mindfulness into your day, no matter what you're doing. Like I said, if you can do this 1 minute breathing meditation, a lot of that will go through a lot quicker than my guidance. But um, if you can build just 1 minute a day in, that's a great way to start. Make sure you're looking for meditation apps that are free if you want something that's a little more regimented and you need that guidance, which I've been practicing for over 10 years, and I still prefer guided meditations just to kind of keep my focus. And I personally don't sit for any longer than 15 minutes myself at a time. Maybe I'll do it a couple times a day, but really start where you need to. If that's 1 minute a day, if that's a couple minutes every other day, or just once a week, starting a routine is really the best way, and obviously to incorporate it into your life. And um, I like to close with this quote on the screen that you can't stop the waves from coming, but you can learn to surf. The Zen proverb that I really love, and really shows us how the things coming and going in our lives are just waves that we can't break through. We can just learn to surf. And for me, mindfulness meditation has allowed me to surf a little bit better through life. So I'll close with that. And I thank you so much for spending this time on yourself and for being here and supporting the Health Education Center of Gainesville. And I wish you a good day and hope to see you back here next week.